The Su-75 Checkmate is the most glaring example of Russia's failing military-industrial propaganda in the fifth-generation fighter market. What was initially introduced with fanfare at the MAKS 2021 air show as a stealth aircraft meant to challenge the West has now become a non-functional showpiece struggling to avoid cancellation. In the nearly 4 years since its reveal, not a single combat-capable prototype has been flight tested, no confirmed foreign buyers have emerged, and even Russia's own Air Force has remained conspicuously silent on any official procurement plans. The project is now being kept on life support through desperation moves, most recently the attempt to involve Belarus as a supposed co-producer and buyer. Russia's strategy is clear: when actual demand fails, manufacture the illusion of success through politically driven partnerships. The Belarus deal being pushed by Moscow is not a reflection of interest or capability, it is a geopolitical PR move designed to mask the structural failures of the Su-75 program. Belarus lacks not just the technical infrastructure to co-produce advanced aircraft but even the most basic facilities for stealth manufacturing, avionics integration, and radar testing. It does not operate any existing fifth-generation systems, nor does it have an aerospace ecosystem capable of supporting such a project independently. Yet Russia is now pushing the narrative that Belarus is stepping in to save Checkmate, when in reality, the move exposes the absence of legitimate foreign buyers and the collapse of Russia's original marketing efforts. Despite repeated claims from Russian state media, no credible international buyer has shown sustained interest in the Su-75. Countries that were floated early on as potential customers, such as India, Vietnam, Argentina, or Algeria, have either denied any formal engagement or gone completely silent. Russia overplayed its hand, touting the aircraft as a cheap F-35 alternative, but failed to deliver even the most basic proof of concept. Unlike Western or even Chinese platforms, there is no open-source test footage, no international evaluation data, no actual test flight telemetry, and no defense contracts or letters of intent from real air forces. All the marketing, including flashy CGI videos, export pricing promises around $30 million, and references to AI piloting and open architecture software, remain unsubstantiated. The aircraft's technical specs are also increasingly suspect. Russia has promised a top speed of Mach 1.8 to 2.0, an unrefueled range of more than 1,800 miles, and a weapons payload of 16,300 pounds. But these numbers are based on nothing more than marketing slides. There is no working engine confirmed for production. Russia's dependence on the underdeveloped Izdali A-117 engine, itself derived from an aging Soviet design, raises serious doubts about whether the Su-75 can achieve those performance benchmarks. Moreover, Russia's aerospace sector is now under intensified sanctions pressure, making it nearly impossible to source or produce high-performance components needed for a fifth-generation fighter. Western avionics, semiconductors, and materials are largely inaccessible. Domestic alternatives have proven unreliable, and there is no evidence that indigenous stealth materials or radar-absorbing coatings meet the necessary quality standards. Even if Russia could somehow assemble a prototype and send it into the air, it would still not prove operational viability. Fifth-generation combat aircraft must undergo years of testing in various combat scenarios, stealth validation against modern air defense radars, and system integration trials. None of this has happened with the Su-75. It hasn't flown in stealth configuration. It hasn't fired a single live missile. There is no confirmed radar system installed or validated. There is no confirmed active or passive electronic warfare suite, no finalized cockpit configuration, and no datalink integration with other platforms. Without these capabilities, the Su-75 is just a shell, an empty airframe with no combat effectiveness, paraded as a future technology that has yet to prove it even exists in working form. Involving Belarus is also strategically meaningless. The country's aerospace industrial base is negligible, and its own defense sector is heavily dependent on Russian support. Suggesting that Belarus could co-produce a fifth-generation aircraft is the equivalent of claiming that a bicycle repair shop could start building electric supercars overnight. The partnership is artificial. Belarus is being pressured into playing the role of customer to validate a failed program and maintain the illusion that the Su-75 has a future. It's not a real industrial partnership. It's a political lifeline designed to deceive domestic audiences and distract international observers. The symbolic placement of potential Su-75s in Belarus is meant to provoke NATO, but it lacks any real impact. There is no working fighter to station there. Even if Russia were to eventually deliver prototypes to Belarus, they would likely be non-operational or limited to static display purposes. From a strategic standpoint, placing untested, potentially unreliable stealth aircraft on NATO's doorstep only reinforces the perception that Russia is more interested in theater and provocation than actual military capability. NATO analysts understand this. They are watching the Su-75 not because it poses a threat, but because it represents the erosion of Russian aerospace credibility. The Su-75's design itself is derivative, borrowing heavily from the failed ambitions of the Su-57 Felon, which remains underproduced and underwhelming in terms of operational deployment. The cockpit, layout, and software architecture are nearly identical, and yet the Su-57 has never lived up to its expectations. Now, Russia is promising that the Su-75, which is supposed to be even cheaper and lighter, will succeed where the Su-57 failed. It's an unrealistic claim unsupported by facts. There's no innovation on display here, just a recycled airframe, slapped with stealth contours and pushed through PowerPoint presentations. Artificial intelligence integration, one of the Su-75's heavily promoted features, remains unverified and almost certainly exaggerated. Russia's current track record with AI development in defense systems is limited and mostly theoretical. Claiming that the Su-75 will use AI to assist the pilot, reduce workload, and increase survivability is pure speculation. There is no evidence of an advanced onboard computing platform or pilot assistance software, and certainly no validation through simulation or test flight. This is a fantasy layered on top of an already fictitious aircraft. Russia's entire Su-75 campaign is a failure dressed up as a breakthrough. The airplane is not flying, not exported, not tested, not validated, not funded at scale, and not adopted by its own air force. It represents the decline of Russia's ability to compete in the high-tech defense market. The Checkmate name has become ironic. It is not a strategic masterstroke but a desperate bluff. The Kremlin is playing a losing hand and trying to convince the world it's holding aces. Western observers should recognize this program for what it is, not a threat, but a warning sign of how deeply degraded Russia's defense innovation capacity has become. The Checkmate doesn't check anything, not technologically, not geopolitically, and not operationally. It is a dead end project kept alive by propaganda, political theater, and false hope. The Belarus arrangement won't revive the Su-75, it only prolongs the illusion that it ever had a chance of success.